My name is Julie Guerrero, and I'm going to be doing the lesson plan for the Education 623 class with Dr. Sharon. It's a little weird for me to not have students in front of me, but I'm going to do the best that I can, and working from home too. So the point of this lesson is to teach kindergartners how to understand number sequence, and that they can look at any number from 1 to 100 and they'll know the number before and after when given a certain number. So to start off the lesson, I was just going to ask the students if they understood in a story there is a before, middle, and an after. And so I was going to read a short story that I just made up. So I was going to say, Gabriel and Naomi walked with their mom to the aquarium. At the aquarium, they saw sea otters. When the day was over, they went back home. And then I was going to ask for a volunteer if they could tell me what the before, the middle, and the end was. And I have this story right here. It would be in like a presentation that they could see. And I think everything is backwards, so I apologize for that. And so hopefully they would be able to correctly tell me the sequence of the story, defining clearly what a before, middle, and after was. Then I would direct them over to these numbers, and I would explain that just like in a story, numbers have a sequence also. And so sequence is the order in something goes. So I would say that this 2 is the middle number, and the before is the 1, and the after is the 3. So I would just clearly display that for them. Then I was gonna move over, I was gonna have, I guess I was going to move these around and add in other numbers just so that they can understand that it's not just with 1, 2, and 3, that it would be with multiple numbers, any number. So I'll switch these around and put this here. And then I would ask the class if they thought that went, if these numbers are in the correct sequence from before, middle, and after. Hopefully a student would raise their hand and say, no, those are not in the correct order. And then I would ask them to move them in the correct order. So I do that. And then they would see that those are in the correct order. Then we go on to the presentation, which would require a smart board, but I'm going to attempt to do it without one and have you see what we're working on. So I would have a chart on the smart board that the students could interact with, and I would just explain again to them that every number, no matter what or how big or how small, has a sequence. So it has a number that comes before it itself would be the middle number, and then an after number. So my plan was to take out just 10 random numbers from 1 to 100. And so I go ahead and take out the 12 right here. If I can. Oh, nope, I need to come out of this mode, I think. Just regular edit mode. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I would take the 12 out. Nope, I don't want to do that. I just want to erase you. Okay, and just go around and take out 10. U, E, B, third U. Okay, so then these numbers would be taken out, and I would have a key for the students to come place these numbers back. And so the 5, the 12, 18, so on would all be down here. I'd ask for volunteers if they could come up and place the number back. So we would just go through one by one. And so we'll just start with 5, and let's say they do that correctly. Then I would go down and kind of highlight these 3 cells right here. And because we did the number, I would ask them, this being the middle number now, 5, just enlarge that. I would ask them to tell me the number that comes before and that comes after. So hopefully they would say 4 and 6. They would start understanding the concept. Then I would just go through each one, 12 next. And so 11 coming before, 13 coming after. I'll just jump to 68. So then we put 68 here. Hopefully the students, so just going one by one and all the way down until we complete the entire chart, pulling up the middle number and clearly defining the before and after. So after that, we would jump into independent work, where I have these cutouts. So I have 10 number sequences, and they need to cut them out and then color code them correctly. And I realized when I was coloring this, I was supposed to have them color the before, the middle, and the after, each a different color. And I was thinking that that would help them as they're doing this, but I thought it might get more confusing and so I know we're not supposed to modify anything. So the students, what they would do is they would next, this would be not colored, and they would do the middle number blue, the before number green, and then the after number yellow. And so they would color it all first and before they cut it out, and then they would go one by one. But I thought that they either understand the concept or not, so they don't necessarily need that color code to do the sequence. And they actually would probably get lost with all these cutouts and all these little pieces. So I thought to make it easier for them that they would color each sequence first. And so then they would remember which numbers went in which sequence. So like this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so they would cut it out and then put it in the correct order. And so they would need crayons and child scissors, not grown up, and then glue, and we do not have glue in our house, so which is odd because I have a toddler and a baby. and we do crafts and stuff. Well, not the baby, but the toddler, we do crafts all the time. So I'm just gonna kind of go to show exactly what it would look like when they start completing this work. And so then if students were struggling, this is the time I would be walking around the classroom and helping students to further understand. And so I just cut out the numbers and I'm gonna keep them in the right order here. I imagine some students would do it pretty quickly and others might struggle a little bit. They weren't paying attention or they're just having a hard time understanding the concept. So for, like I said, the students who were struggling to understand, I would just be going around the class talking to them individually as they're trying to complete. And so then that's what one problem would look like. I'll do one more. And for students who understood and were able to complete the assignment, that they were a little bit ahead of the curve, I would have an additional worksheet for them, which I will show. And they will be working on that until the majority of the class finishes this portion. If there are a couple students and time is just kind of dragging on and we need to finish up the lesson, I'll have the students take it home for homework to finish. Okay, so let me quickly show you the worksheet. I didn't download it or make it, but I do have the link. So it would just go like that. They have just the first 9 numbers that they'd be working with for this one. I think a more in-depth, like this would be more of a few-day lesson plan where we'll start incorporating two-digit numbers. Just wanting them to fully understand number sequence first and make sure that they understand this concept, that there's a middle number and then there's one that comes before and after. And it's, you know, as long as they know their numbers pretty well, they it should just come to their mind. They shouldn't have to count like with their fingers to try to figure out which one comes before and after. The other thing I was going to do in the beginning was, which I forgot to do in the beginning of this video, but what I would have done in the classroom setting was ask the students to, if they remembered how to count backwards from 10 to 1, because that would have been a lesson that would have come before to help them with understanding number sequence. And so I would have had or we probably would have done it as a class if they could count down from 10 to 1. And then we'd probably go back forward 1 to 10, 10 to 1, just kind of playing with it a little bit and having it in their mind that we're kind of ordering numbers or placing numbers in order, in a certain order. So this would be the independent, and then the final thing, I would ask 3 students to volunteer to hold a different number. So I don't have students, but I have balloons. And so let me just put these. And for future, so these are my students for today. Let me apologize for their feet. I didn't think I would be showing them. And so then these volunteers would then be responsible for putting themselves in order. Once they think they're in the right order, Then we will discuss as a class if we think, I apologize, this is probably awful video, if they're in the right order. And we'll have different students come up and do it, and the class will, the students who agree that they're in the right order, I'll ask, are they in the right order? And hands up if you agree. The students will put their hands up if they agree. And then they don't agree, I'll ask for volunteer to come up and show what is the correct order. And that would close out the lesson. So this sequence worksheet is how I would grade the students to see if they were grasping the concept, if further instruction needed to be done, if we could move on to 2-digit numbers and sequencing them. And that's it. I apologize if I think I said about 1 million times. A little nervous to do this, my first video lesson, but I appreciate your time and I hope you have a good day and that this was informative and was what needed to complete the assignment. Thank you. Bye-bye.